Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Aimee Talks Too Much podcast. I know it's been a really long time since I filmed a video. I've been so slack with it. Somebody at work the other day literally confronted me and said, "You haven't posted in ages. It's getting a bit ridiculous." So I was like, okay, I need to sit down. I need to just talk at the camera because now I'm overthinking it. I'm like, oh my god, what do I even say? What do I talk about? Where do I begin? I think I'm going to start with my week. Kind of. I have come back to Southampton. That's why I'm in another setup. So please forgive me. I know that it's been a lot of chop and change, but hopefully one will be decided on soon. This is okay. I think the ones I've chosen so far aren't too shabby, but I'm just not the biggest fan. I think half my wardrobe and then the mirror where you can see where I've been like moving in isn't the best, but we will figure it out. I started work again. I started yesterday. I only had a 4-hour shift at smash me out and take a shot. I had a 4-hour shift and I just kind of spent it catching up with people and obviously getting all the work drama, all the gossip, which will not be discussed on this podcast. No, because I don't do that here. So if that is what you're looking for, scroll on because I wouldn't risk anything like that. Also, not my business. But yeah, so at the moment, life has been a little bit boring, a little bit slow, and you're probably wondering, Aimee, why didn't you film the podcast? Well, I literally got back to Southampton yesterday, so I've been fully in one city for about a day. On my way, so at the moment there are London tube strikes, which by the time this comes out, you can tell how old this episode probably is. There are tube strikes in London, and so that means that we basically can't get anywhere. From my house, Waterloo is very close, okay? It's really, really not that far. But because of the tube strikes, I had to leave an hour and a bit before my train. Let me break it down for you because I honestly had such a hectic journey. So, I leave my house at 10:20. My train is at 11:35, right? So, we've got an hour and 15 minutes to get to Waterloo. Figured this would be enough time. On my bus app the day before, it told me it would take me 40 minutes. So I'm looking and I look at my bus app again and it's completely changed. So originally it was telling me to go to Victoria, then to go to Waterloo, and now it's only giving me routes to Waterloo. And I thought, we'll run with it, I guess, we'll run with it. This time it's upped me. I'm now at 59 minutes. The journey's going to take 59 minutes. Bear in mind, I've given myself an hour and 15. I'm thinking, this isn't great, but it's not tragic, so let's try and make this work. For my journey to Waterloo, I have to first go from my house to the bus stop. That already is a 20-minute walk. I'm carrying this massive bag with me because I'm moving back into uni and also because I'm very high maintenance, so for a week I need a lot of things. I'm carrying it all. My running shoes are practically falling out as I'm walking, but I managed to get to the bus stop, and so our journey now, say, is down to about 55 minutes left till my train's leaving, right? I get to the bus stop, I'm sitting there, it's telling me that a train's 2 minutes away. I'm thinking, thank God, I can't really leave much later than this. The bus comes, and it says to Baker Street Station on it. And I'm thinking, that is not far enough. That is not far enough. What is going on? So I speak to the bus driver and he's basically like, listen, it's going to have to be the next one. The next one comes 5 minutes later. So I've been waiting here now for 7 minutes, which is already, again, killed me a little bit in terms of making it to my train on time. I finally get on a bus and it's not too packed. It's pretty okay. I managed to grab a seat. I sit down. My back is killing me. I'm 20 and I'm 5'1", so I'm really friggin' short, but I'm not old. But when I have something heavy, it genuinely feels like my spine is decompressing the entire time. Hi, little editor's note from 2 a.m. Aimee. I meant compressing. You knew that. I knew that. Don't be mean. Just carry on like nothing happened, okay? I'm like, I can't explain to you how much pain I'm in from holding a bag for a little bit. So holding that bag had genuinely taken out of me. I really needed to sit down. Sitting down, and eventually the bus gets packed. I'm talking about maybe 3 stops later, the bus is completely packed. I'm talking shoulder to shoulder, elbow to elbow. Everybody is in everyone's business, like proper up close, There's, even though I'm sitting, there's people next to me that are still like really, really close to me. And the bus just keeps going on its journey, picking up more people. And at one point, the bus driver opens up the back of the bus to let people off. And some people sneak on, which, what can you do? It's so busy. Who's going to be held accountable, And what am I going to friggin' do? I don't care. Anyways, these people snuck on, and there's this one woman there, and she's wearing a dress, and she's very thin, and she couldn't be more than 55. She's probably 50, mid-50s, and she gets on. She's really scanning the bus, you know, she's really looking around. I feel like she's looking for a victim, honestly. That's what I figured out from here. She looks at me. She comes and she stands right next to me. And again, the bus is packed. I'm not questioning anything. Of course she's standing right next to me. Who the hell am I, you know? She looks at me and she keeps going. And I'm thinking, what? What do you want from me? What do you want from me? And I have a sneaky little feeling that it might be because my perky little butt is sitting on this seat. So I'm trying to ignore her, right? I've got my earphones in. I'm like, okay, girl. Like, there's another young person sitting next to me. You know, whoever's sitting down has probably managed to just get there first. The thing is as well that really bothers me is I am the queen of giving up my seat to people. Anytime I'm on a train, anytime I'm on the bus, if I see someone pregnant, disabled, elderly, a child, I will give them my seat. You know, I don't care. I'm fine with standing. But this woman was genuinely like 50, not much older than my own parents, who I know are very mobile. You know, I'm thinking she's got 10 years left with that hip. Make it count, babes. But she's looking at me and I just know she wants this seat. I know it. And I can't really be like, just come and sit, Cynthia, sit on my lap. I'm not going to be doing all of that. So I'm trying to ignore her. I'm looking out the window. I'm like, yeah, she's staring at me. She's staring at me. Like, because what do you do? I'm not going to say anything because I would rather avoid confrontation when we're on this crazy bus with like people chin to chin, you know. She taps me. I say she taps me. The woman poked me. She had nails done. She looked great, but she didn't need to be doing all of that. She pokes me. Sorry. Excuse me. Are you pregnant? Are you pregnant? Are you pregnant? The words like rang in my ears. Are you pregnant? Are you pregnant? Are you pregnant? Are you pregnant? I was genuinely like dumbfounded because listen, I know people watching this podcast see me with a full face of makeup on. They might go, she pretty much looks 20, like probably not younger than 18. But if you've seen me in real life, like I'm going on a train and I'm leaving at 10 a.m. So I've not got makeup on. I'm wearing something very similar to this. It's baggy clothing. I've got my little bag with me. I look 14, probably. I even think that's a stretch. I've been told I looked 13. Like I look very, very young. So with this in mind, this woman has poked me and asked me if I'm pregnant, definitely assuming that I am a young teenager. At most she thought I was 16. I swear to God, guys, it's not a flex. It's actually embarrassing. People look at me. There was this one time, oh, sorry, we have to go on another story for a second. This one time before I went to uni, bear in mind I'm 19, I took a gap year. So before I was going to uni, I wanted to get my eyes checked because obviously like, I don't want to be told I'm blind just before I'm going to uni. Go and get my eyes done. Go back to the guy and he looks at me and goes, you had to pay for this eye test. And I'm like, yep, I do. I said, I'm 19 years old, so I'm of the age where I have to pay now. And he looks at me and goes, I thought you were 12. I was like, okay. Which, you know, again, like I was shocked. I'm not going to lie to you. Because at this point, I actually did have a full face of makeup on. So it just felt shady. Not only that, but like, what 12-year-old is walking around in the clothes that I was walking around in with their own debit card and phone? I don't know. Maybe that's the 12-year-olds of today. I don't have a clue. I had like massive acrylics on and I was like, 12? Okay. She said she was 12. I was 20. I mean, this time I was 19. But I was not a child. And so that really hurt me. So I had like almost like a flashback as I was speaking to this woman, like being told, oh, you look 12, you know, I go back. So I come back too, and I'm like, she probably thinks I'm 12. She probably thinks I'm 14. She probably thinks I'm an actual infant, right? So I'm like, cool, whatever, you know, don't let the haters hate. I tell her I'm not pregnant, and she asks me why I've taken a seat then. And I tell her that my back hurts. And she looks at me disapprovingly. She's like, because she thinks I'm 12. And she thinks, why does a 12-year-old's back hurt? Well, there could be many reasons, Susan. Maybe I have scoliosis. Maybe I have some sort of back issue. I'm very small. I am very, very compressed. Of course I have back issues. I'm like a sausage dog. Like, there's probably a lot of pressure on my back. But she's looking at me like this, like, okay. She asked the girl next to me, are you pregnant? And the girl next to me goes, no. Why? She looks at her and goes, well, I need a seat. I need a seat, and someone's got to give me a seat. And very sadly, this girl gave her the seat, which, I mean, obviously a better citizen than me for doing that. But it was so difficult for her. You've got to bear in mind, this girl tried to then get off the bus because this woman was being so blatantly rude to us. And it took her like an extra 2 stops before she could even manage to get off, because that's how packed we were. It was hard to even give up a seat because we were so packed. And listen, again, I would have given it up. I would give it up for practically anyone. I think even if that woman had asked nicely, I would have given it up to her. But because she was standing there, looking, tutting, very obviously not of the age where she needs a seat. She's not even of the age to retire. And I know you might be saying, Aimee, how can you assume this? Aimee, how can you assume this? This woman was wearing a dress. She had fabulous legs. I'm just going to say it. Not a smidgen of cellulite in sight. She obviously does some sort of a yummy mummy Pilates or something. Maybe she became a first-time grandmother the other week. She is not old enough to need this seat. She is doing salsa classes on Tuesdays. She is fine. She doesn't need my seat. I am tired. My back hurts. I am probably the unhealthiest 20-year-old on the planet. I do not eat well enough, and I do not have legs like that. So yes, she can stand and she can show them off because I am tired. She didn't need the seat. Anyway, she gets to sit down. She's trying to talk to me, and I'm like, Miss Girl, like, I do not want to talk to you. I'm sorry, I don't want to talk to you. You've been so rude. You've been so rude, Pookie. I'm not talking to you. Anyway, so again, I'm like zoning off, looking out. Obviously, I keep an eye out. If there is anybody that needs a seat, I will be giving it up, but it's a bit hard. There's nobody there. I can't really see over the crowds of people, whatever. This woman ends up getting off like 4 stops later anyway. So did she really need the seat? No, she didn't. But she claimed it anyway. Bear in mind, I'm getting off at the last stop because the last stop is Waterloo Station. So who needed it more, guys? Vote in the comments. Who needed it more? Anyway, she gets off the bus. People start getting off the bus around Charing Cross time. Everyone's getting off. It's getting so much clearer. It's just nice again. So immediately I kind of changed seat because I decided that seat was really unlucky and I needed to just be in anything else. OCD brain. So I go and sit in the back and I'm just like kind of hiding away from everyone, and because I just don't want to be disturbed on my journey. I get this thing, and I don't mind it usually, but I have this thing where my face is really, I guess, a talkable face. Like, people look at it and they go, if I have a question, I should ask her. Maybe it's a customer service face. I think people can sense that I've worked there before. Maybe it's I just look really like childlike and innocent. But people constantly ask me questions. Like, if anybody needs directions, they always come up to me. If anyone needs to talk about their day, they come up to me. Like, the amount of times I've had old people be like, oh, when I was younger, I did this, this, and that. And usually I love it because I love the law and I am nosy as fuck. But I just really did not appreciate this woman and her rashness. And then it just put me off for the rest of the day. And I was like, you know what? I really don't want anyone to think that they can speak to me ever again, because I just want to crawl into a hole and die after being asked if I was with child and knowing that I look like a 14-year-old. So eventually I get off the bus. That's nice and smooth. And I've missed my train. So I waltz up to the customer service area and I say, hey, I missed my train. My bus was late. The bus was crazy. Is there any way that I can transfer my ticket onto the next one? And they're saying, listen, it strikes. Of course you can. It's practically valid all day. And I'm like, cheers, thank you. Walk off again. So I look for when the next train is, and the next one's cancelled. And the one after that is an hour later. So I'm like, I wanted to get to Southampton earlier. I wanted to see my boyfriend before I went to work. But okay. Breathe, Aimee, breathe. Okay. My shift at Smash Me at, full context, starts at 5:30 and I'm getting on the train at 1:45. So I'm like, okay, I'll have a little bit of time, but just not the most amount of relaxing time. So I decide I'm going to spend my time in Starbucks. I walk over, I have a little look around, there's enough seats. Actually, Waterloo Station was really, really quiet compared to how it usually is. So I go up, I order myself a medium mocha, no cream, because I just don't like cream. I think it has no taste and it is a weird texture to me. And grab my drink, sit down for a little bit. I'm just, I'm watching like TikTok lives, I'm watching fucking reels, enjoying my time. And eventually when the train has a platform, I get on early, which is never like me. Usually I'm literally there the minute before it leaves, like sprinting, being like, please don't leave me, please don't leave me. But I finally got a seat and I sit down, and to be honest with you, the rest of the journey was relatively smooth. I don't even think that we had any delays on that train, which is absolutely fabulous. I mean, would have been great if the first train that I was meant to get on had a fat delay, but oh well, I was 10 minutes late, so what can you do? I get to Southampton and I see my boyfriend, and it was all great. And then after that, we chilled, we ate a bit of food, we had like super noodles and garlic bread. I know, student dinner. And yeah, went to work, got the law, got the gossip, ran out as soon as I could. That was my day yesterday. I'm going back to London for a couple days on Wednesday because I've got a concert. I am seeing the wonderful Lewis Capaldi in concert. My aunt booked them and she booked us standing, which I'm so grateful to be going, but I don't know how I'm gonna dance, how I'm gonna jam to Lewis Capaldi. I mean, he has a lot of sad songs, so I might just be standing there weeping, but you never know. Hopefully nobody films that. But I'm seeing him next week, and then I'm staying in London for a couple days, hopefully to see my friend this is a shout out to you. I don't think I mentioned you yet on the podcast, and I am so excited because by the time I've come back, everyone would have moved into my house. So my friend Charlotte is moving in soon, my friend Kayla is moving in soon, my friend Angelina is moving in soon. Free shout outs, boom boom boom. You've seen Kayla already, she's been on the podcast. Charlotte was our audience, but you haven't heard of the rest of them. So they're all moving in soon, and I'm so freaking excited. Like, I just miss everyone and I'm so bored. By the way, I mentioned my uni city a lot in this episode, and I'm realizing that now, and I don't think that it is wise of me to have my uni city out there just yet, even though nobody watches this. You never know if there is a crazy 70-year-old man somewhere that is going to creak his way over here and murder me. So I'm gonna bleep it. If you hear weird bleep sounds, it's literally just me bleeping my university name. I just don't need people to know where I am. You guys don't need to know where I am. I don't need to know where you guys are. We're in a comfortable relationship as we are. But I really wanted to get into today's topic of the podcast. You probably have seen it from the title, you've probably seen it from the clickbait thumbnail, I don't know, but we're going to be talking about stalking or stalkerish situations. Take a shot every time I say stalker this episode. I want to put a disclaimer that stalking is never funny. Stalking is a crime. It is not okay to harass women, men, children, the elderly, anybody. Nobody should be getting harassed. Nobody should accept stalking, and you should go to the police if you think that you're being stalked. With my instances, I'm going to be laughing at them because for me, the way I cope with traumatic instances is with laughing and humor. And that's the way I've chosen to talk about these stories. If it's triggering for you, I understand if you don't want to watch it. If it's something that you don't think is funny, I also understand that. This is just my way of talking about it, and I guess getting off my chest, Neither of my stories do I feel like I needed to involve the police. You guys might have different opinions on that, and that's why I'm calling them stalkerish, because I don't know if I should give them the official title of being like a crime, but you can come to that conclusion on your own. I just want to talk about some weird situations I've been in, okay? Let's talk about weird incident number 1. I'm going to change the name of the people in these videos. Obviously, if they watch them, they're going to know who they are, but also you're welcome for changing your name, Pookie. I'm not outing you. I just want to talk about what I went through. I was 16 years old when the first incident happened. I was in sixth form. I had just started sixth form. Now, for context, I went to a secondary school, and then I went to a sixth form, and my secondary school and my sixth form were in the same building. Okay, if that makes sense. So I'd started sixth form, and I just started my new modules as well. So by modules, I mean subjects. So I had done biology, chemistry, and psychology. And I was already really struggling with chemistry. I found chemistry hard throughout my sixth form career. And I decided I really wanted to get some early reading in. Like, this was literally, I think, October, guys. It was October, and I already knew I was struggling. I was already falling behind, and I really wanted to do some studying. So I went to the library on my own. I took a chemistry book with me, and I was doing some work on it. Whilst I was in the library, there was this guy and this girl in the corner on the laptops, and I thought nothing of it. Obviously, like, there's going to be people in there all the time. I'm doing work in my chemistry book, and the guy looks over at me and he says to me, "Do you have a charger?" And I say, "No," because I didn't have a charger. And I say, "No, I'm sorry." And I smile at everyone. I'm such a little weak person. I'm just very like, not that smiling makes you weak, it makes you pleasant. But for me, I think it makes me look like a target. So I smiled at him, and that probably was the worst thing I could have done, because a few moments later, he comes over to me and he says, "What are you reading?" And I said, "I'm just doing my textbook, my chemistry textbook. I'm trying to brush up on my chemistry knowledge. I'm already really struggling. I've just started the year." And he's like, "Well, I'm in the year above," which for context is the last year of sixth form. "So I can help you. I'm doing science. Like, let me help you. And he looks at my chemistry book and he says, "Oh, I've got a really good textbook. It's way better than this. It's way better. Let me send it to you." And I was 16 years old, guys, and I was so naive, and I did not see this as a ploy to get my number. I genuinely thought, this guy seems really nice. He's trying to help me. I'm really struggling with this subject, And also, I was insecure. I was 16. I didn't think anybody would have a reason to just fancy me from seeing me, So I give him my number, and I'm like, "Yeah, send it over. That would be great." He sends it over. I'm like, fabulous. I think that's the end of it. That evening, he messages me and he says, like, "Hey, Aimee, it was so nice to meet you in the library. Like, you seem really cool." By the way, obviously, I told him my name because he asked. And I'm like, "Hey, like, it was nice to meet you too. Like, whatever." But I kind of didn't know how to react. I don't know this guy at all, and I don't know anything about him, and I don't want to be horrible. I'm not a mean person. So I'm like, "Hey, like, it was nice to see you too." And he just starts messaging me from there. He messages me a lot, and I'm trying to respond a little bit here and there, and he asks to call me. And I give the excuse of, no, my parents are sleeping, I can't talk, because I don't know this guy and I don't want to be on the phone with him. I want to go to sleep. Fast forward the next day, he's messaging me again, asking me if we can meet up. And I say no, because I don't know him. He says, "Oh, just meet me in the school library, like, and we can chat again and maybe get to know each other." And I'm just like, you know what? I had just come out of a really weird situationship that had lasted nearly a year, and on top of that, I was feeling the burn from it. So I thought, maybe it's not a bad idea to go and talk to some new guy and chat to him, and it doesn't have to be a thing, but maybe it will be good for my mental state to just know that there are other options out there and to be sociable again. I agreed to meet him. We meet in the library, we're having a chat, and literally maybe 20 minutes into our talk, we had like an hour of a free period to talk. The fire alarm goes off. And I'm like, oh my God, like, that's kind of crazy. It goes off the minute I'm talking to him, but it's fine, whatever. We leave the building, we go outside, what you're meant to do when the fire alarm happens, and then eventually when everyone goes back inside, I go and hang out with my friends, and I think he also just went out. So we lost, I think, practically all of our time together, which was fine by me. I didn't really know him, but there was no judgment there. He texts me and he's like, "It's really annoying what happened with the fire alarm earlier. I'm so annoyed I didn't get to speak to you." I'm like, "Yeah, it's a shame, but we've got other chances." He asks me if I go to the gym because I mentioned kickboxing and things like that to him. And he's like, "Oh, what gym do you go to?" And again, guys, don't ever do what I did. I told him my gym because I really, really just thought this is just some nice guy in my sixth form. It doesn't, there's nothing crazy. A lot of people from my school go to this gym. So I told him my gym. And he says, "Oh, okay, I need to be going to the gym. The next day he signs up for my gym. The next day. It wasn't even near his house, by the way. On top of that, he messages me that day and says, "You're like a girl from a film." At this point, I'm just thinking, what the heck did this guy say to me? Some corny ass line, but it's whatever. He's just trying to be nice, Aimee. He's just trying to be nice. Why do you shoot down everyone that's nice? That's why you were an asshole for 8 months. So I'm like, okay, calm the brain. I'm like, thanks. He said, "I just can't believe a girl like you exists." And then I was like, what's that meant to mean? There are plenty of people like me. And I literally said that. I said, "I'm sure there's many girls out there that are like me, that kickbox and are into musical theatre. I don't think that's that crazy of a hobby. I think that men can't compute the fact that girls have hobbies. They don't like it. It doesn't register to them. So when women do have hobbies, they're like, oh my God, you're like different from the rest." Not at all. Most women have hobbies. You just haven't been bothered to ask them. Anyway, so I kind of just say to him, I think a lot of girls are like me because I don't think that's a compliment. I love women. I want to be like women. Okay. We move on. And he's just saying very like sweet, obviously trying to be flirty thing. I'm uncomfortable and I feel like we haven't really clicked like that, you know. Our relationship isn't that of like a flirty one. I kind of thought maybe he could be a friend that could help me out of Cam, but I really was not trying to lead this guy on. I just want to put that out there. I would never do that to a person. I don't want to do that to a person. Anyway, so I'm kind of getting uncomfortable with the way this is going. I don't like the fact he's joined my gym. I'm finding this all a bit weird. He's got my number, not through asking for it, but through the guise of helping me out with a subject I'm really struggling with. And he also tells me this day, this is like the third day, he tells me that he's told his cousin about me and that he brought us tickets to this show. And I'm like, oh, you didn't need to do that. Like, I'm not sure if I'm free yet. You don't know. And also like, oh, that's a bit soon, isn't it? Haha, to tell your cousin about me. And he's like, no, I just have a good feeling about you. Like, the day I saw you, I felt like I was destined to see you. Stuff like that. And I'm just like, okay, girl. Like, I mean, I love it. Like, I don't mind a spiritual belief. But it's making me feel a bit uncomfortable now. The next day he asks, hey, like, can we call? I really want to talk to you. I want to see you in school. And I just say to him, look, I have a really busy day. I can't see you today. I can't call because my parents sleep and you're going gym in the afternoon and I'm not going today. So I will just text you and we will talk, okay? We're texting. It's kind of normal. Again, he's kind of telling me about the fake stuff. What did you think about me when you first saw me? And I'm like, I don't know, you seem nice. Like, I don't want to leave this guy on and I really don't know how to break free from this. And I'm really worried that he's expecting more from me than I'm willing to give. And listen, like, I don't have to apologize for not making it clear that I didn't want to go to the show or I didn't want his family to know about me, because that's very obvious, but he clearly wasn't getting the cues. Day 5 arrives and I agree to meet him at the gym. I'm thinking, you know, it's a space surrounded by other people, women, men, everyone, like, it will be fine. Maybe I'm overthinking this. Maybe I really need to give this guy a shot. Like, I don't know, because at this point I almost feel coerced into doing it. I feel like I have to try now. I mean, I've spoken to him for 5 days now. I have to give him a shot. So I agreed to meet him at the gym. And it fell through, basically. I got a text that same day and found out that my situationship / the guy that I'd been talking to for like actual months and months and months at this point, this guy was like the first guy I ever liked. On top of that, he did ask me to be his girlfriend for like a little bit, and then that kind of just faded. Like, he then didn't want to do that anymore. It was really a very weird situation, but I was like kind of led on, kind of not, for like months on end. And he was really playing mind games with me, talking to other girls whilst we were meant to be talking like exclusively. That's the word he loved to use. He loved to say we were exclusive, but we weren't in a relationship. Whatever, right? And I would constantly rant to my best friend about it. And that day that I was meant to be meeting up with him to go to the gym, I found out that my best friend, who told me she hated him, like, fuck him, Aimee, leave him, don't talk to him, don't even, like, you know, you're too good for him, whatever, had started dating him. She had started dating him and I was crushed, like, to my core, heartbroken, because not only was he the first guy I ever liked, she was one of the first friends I ever made at the school. You know, I'd known her since I was 11. I was now 16. And I just couldn't believe that she would do something like that to me, considering how many times I'd called her crying, being like, I just found out he's talking to this other girl. Like, I can't believe it. It's happened again, you know? And she did the great thing of being like, listen, you just deserve more. You're better than this. You're better than this. And I did come around eventually. But the fact that the minute I came around, she practically jumped on his lap and started dating him had left me absolutely heartbroken. I never loved this guy, but I loved her. I loved her so much, to my core. She was genuinely one of my best friends. I confided in her. We were very, very close. I'd stayed over at her house. Like, there was a lot there for me. And it was genuinely a heartbreak over her. Like, the loss of my best friend, who, by the way, like, I hadn't gone through any major friendship losses at this point. I've gone through a few now, so I feel like I'm better adapted for it and I can cope better. But at the time, this was the first friend I had genuinely lost because we had a spat or a falling out. So I was devastated. She sent me a message telling me that they were dating, that she was sorry, and she then didn't respond when I started texting her. So you can imagine I'm losing my mind. I'm texting her, I'm calling her, I'm acting crazy, okay? I don't text him because genuinely I have nothing to do with him. He is not the person I care about here. It is her. I love her and I just want to be okay, and I don't want this to tear us apart, and I want to know that she's joking or that she made a mistake and she maybe agreed to just go on a date with him and she wants to talk to me about it. I don't know, but I'm hoping it's something more than it ever was, and it wasn't. And the next day we ended up calling and just it all fell apart, guys. It all fell apart. I text the guy and I say to him, listen, I just found out some pretty crushing news. This guy that I used to like and my best friend are now going out. And he goes crazy on me. He basically says, well, that's a new one. I also want to preface, he's not at the gym by this point, guys. So I didn't, cancel on this guy whilst he's actively at the gym. He wasn't even there. But he's upset because he's now not going to go to the gym with me. He says to me, that's a new one. Usually it's a friend's birthday party or this or that, but today it's my friend is dating my ex-situationship. This is crazy. And I'm like, I'm being serious with you. I'm not joking. I wouldn't make that up. I'm literally in bits. He's like, oh, I don't believe you. I don't believe you. I see who you truly are now. He tells me he sees my true colors and calls me a chameleon. Like, okay, Boy George, I really didn't think we were going to take it there, but since we're taking it there, I'm furious at this point. I've known this guy 5 days and yet he's berating me, telling me he knows me, that I don't make time for anyone to get to know them because I'm too busy in my own world and I'm clearly drama because I'm losing friends and blah, blah, blah. So I say to him, you don't believe me? He says, yeah, I don't believe you. So I send him the message. I send him a screenshot of the message and I say, there. How would I have made that up? I show him the timestamp, everything. He comes back and he's apologizing. He's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I always do this. I always mess it up. And I say, it is too fucking late. This guy went on a tangent. He called me a liar. He called me dramatic. He called me everything in the world. And listen, I am a dramatic person. I'm not going to lie. I wouldn't have a podcast if I wasn't dramatic. But to berate me as if you know me is insane. It's insanity. And then he wonders why I didn't want to get to know him. It's because I could sense something was off. And I knew in my gut, and girls, you will always know in your gut when something is off with a person, whether it's a potential romantic partner, whether it's a friend, whether it's a family member. You can tell when someone's intentions aren't pure. And he's really apologetic at this point. And I'm honestly just like, no. Because I can see my way out of this now. And I'm like, no, you are not going to do this to me. This is not okay. He's like, I really saw something here. I'm saying to him, I never wanted a relationship. You don't understand that because you never took the time to ask me what I wanted. You never took the time to ask me if I had a boyfriend, if I'm this, if I'm that. And he said, yeah, well, I just assumed it was obvious. I just assumed you knew I wanted to go out with you. You knew from the minute we talked. You knew what this was. And I'm like, no, that's not how this works. You don't get to tell me that I knew that you wanted this whole relationship with me. You don't get to tell me that because I didn't. I knew that something was up by day 3, but I genuinely thought you could be a nice friend, and clearly I was wrong. And he's telling me, well, I don't like you anyway. It was never going to work out. I'm leaving school soon. It was never going to work out. Whatever. And I'm like, it didn't need to work out because I don't want you. I don't like you like that. I never liked you like that. I thought you were going to be a nice friend and you just failed at that. He yaps on, and I just say goodbye. And I think I sent him a meme that was like, goodbye. I don't know why I did that. I was 16 and stupid, but I just sent him a goodbye message and I blocked him. And like a week after that, I'm in the girls' bathroom, in the sixth form girls' bathroom, and a girl from his U group comes up to me and she says, hey, are you talking to, insert that guy's name? And I said, no. He messaged me for a bit and after 5 days expected me to have time for him, call him, because bear in mind, he went on a massive rant about how I never make time for people, that I clearly have too much going on, that I'm not bothered to speak to people I care about, assuming that I would care about him or consider him an important enough person to carve out time for. Bear in mind, I've just started sixth form and I found out that stuff has happened that has broken my heart. And I'm telling her this, I'm just not telling her everything that happened, but I'm saying, like, he spoke to me for 5 days and then expected me to, like, call him and meet up with him. He signed up to my gym and brought us tickets and told his cousin about me, and it was really weird. And she says, well, I heard him talk about you and say, that he wanted to go out with you and speaking about you. And I just wanted to let you know that he's done this to multiple girls and he's not a safe guy to go out with, and he has stalkerish tendencies, and he's just not. Don't go out with him, basically. And I said, listen, like, it's done and dusted. I'm not doing anything like that. Do not worry. It's over, kind of thing. But, like, the messaging is over, not anything else, because it wasn't ever anything else. And I decided not to tell anyone. I told my mum, and my mum was just a bit like, that's weird. But I didn't tell anybody at the school because I just felt like it would only cause more drama for me. I left it and I just didn't go to my gym for a little bit because I didn't want to run into him. And I think he must have eventually cancelled his membership because I didn't run into him. And anytime I would see him at school, he would look at me like this, as if I'd killed his family. And I just thought, bro, grow up, you know? And it was hard for me because I don't like people disliking me. I hate it, honestly. Like, I want everyone to like me. And so it was a struggle at the time to deal with the fact that there was someone that probably hated my guts. But at the same time, he didn't know me, so it wasn't too important. This next story / incident / whatever you want to call it, stalker-ish story, happened in my sixth form. Again, like everything happens. And it happened with a boy in my year. Now, for all intents and purposes, we're going to call him Matthew, just to like put it out there because I don't want to use anyone's real names. But I knew of Matthew for a very long time. He had been in the secondary school and he just never really was in class. I didn't really see him around that much, but I knew of him. Like, I knew he existed. And I met Matthew, I want to say in year 12, so the first year of sixth form. And we spoke, and I knew that he had a bit of a reputation, mainly for being controversial and not completely well liked, but I kind of left it alone. I've now since learned that a lot of the time when people aren't liked, there's usually a good reason for it. But at this time, I didn't want to, judge based on other people's opinions. I wanted to figure it out for myself. I didn't actively seek to talk to him. He definitely spoke to me first. Like, I remember that as much. But we became kind of friends at the start and we kind of spoke a little bit. And then I remember him saying to me, oh my God, so I was part of this program where basically you would get free tutoring. But you had to apply and you had to be kind of like a promising student, but maybe you're bad at like a particular subject. So I got tutoring for chemistry because I was so bad at chemistry, guys. Like, I was okay at maths, but I was so bad at chemistry. And I'm pretty sure the story of him getting my phone number started because we were in one of these meetings together. And he was like, oh, give me your number and I'll help you with so or something like that. I think he was helping me with my UCAS personal statement for uni, I think. And I'm pretty sure that's how he ended up getting my number and that's how we started talking because he was very intelligent. I'm not going to not give that to him. He was very smart. He was very good at what he was doing. He had good vocabulary. And so I figured if I sent it to him, then I'd have another person to look over it and tell me if it was good, tell me what to cut out, things like that. Because I remember being way over my word limit at the time. So I give him my phone number. He messages me about it. I don't fully remember too much. But I do remember that like a few months later, he started messaging me normally when we started talking in sixth form. I'm going to be honest with you. It was a really long form story, this one. So whereas the other one that I just mentioned was 5 days long, this went on for, I would say, probably a year and a half. That is a rough guesstimation. I also would say he didn't make it known that he wanted to be more than friends. I knew that he had fancied other girls in my year group, other girls in the school in general. So I didn't think anything of it when we did talk. He seemed to be more friendly with a lot of girls anyway. I thought nothing of it. We talk, and this is kind of the first problem that arose. He kept asking me for my address. Where do you live? Where do you live? Where do you live? Which sounds like such a blunt question to ask someone, and it is. Don't ask people where they live unless you're really good friends with them. And I'd be like, shut up, I'm not telling you, because I wasn't going to tell him. I don't want people to just know where I live. I mean, if you're a close enough friend, I'll bring you to my house, but you don't need to know my postcode, for example. And he was like, no, I'm going to find out. And I just thought that was strange, but I didn't take it seriously. You know, he was a joker. He enjoyed dark humor. He definitely enjoyed the shock that people would have when he said something outrageous. You know, he was a very controversial character. So I said, no, you're not, and he did. He found it out because one of the teachers who was part of the unit, which was essentially where like the naughty kids go, the kids that maybe they were acting out in class or they'd missed too many homeworks or whatever reason it was, he was in there. I don't know if he was in there, but he was in there. And he basically said to the unit teacher, well, this is what he told me, but he said to the unit teacher, look, can I look up a person? And they were like, yeah. So he looked up me and he found my address and he found my parents' names, their full names, and he messaged them to me. He just messaged them one day when I got home from school. He messaged me just my address and my parents' names, and I was really freaked out, I'm not gonna lie. I found out after the fact that he had done this to another person, a guy in my year. It was so weird. We had very opposite reactions because we spoke about this quite recently. I basically was like, oh my god, what the hell, don't come to my house, like, this was really uncomfortable for you to do. Whereas the guy was like, fucking pull up, pull up. What are you gonna do? What are you genuinely gonna do? Come, my whole family's here, come please. Anyway, he didn't obviously end up coming to either of our houses, and a few days later it was just really eating me alive. I really felt uncomfortable with it. I'm a very anxious person, guys. I really think worst case scenario a lot of the time. And so I really didn't want to be some girl in a documentary that got killed by a guy that seemed harmless. He seemed nice and, just misunderstood. And then he followed her home and got her address and killed her. Like, I didn't want to be one of those girls. There's so many Aimees that go missing or die. Look it up. There's so many of us. I mean, they're all spelled A-M-Y, but that's so irrelevant. I can't believe you'd even bring that up. Anyway, so I thought it would be fine. I thought, I should just leave it. But it was eating me alive, guys. I'm so anxious. So I spoke to one of the teachers that I really considered understanding and nice to me, not realizing obviously that this meant I was definitely going to have to report something, because it was reportable behavior. If there's any teachers watching this out there, they know that if they got this same claim, like, listen, this guy got information off of a screen and messaged it to me, they would freak out too, especially because it's such private, confidential information. So I told the teacher, and I was kind of freaked out. I just said to her, like, listen, I don't want him to get in trouble. I don't dislike him. It's not like that. I just felt uncomfortable with the way things went. I don't like that a teacher let him have that information about me. Can you sort that out for me? She basically said, listen, I'm going to have to make it a full report and I'm going to have to talk to the parties involved. And it became that. And the unit teacher obviously denied it, was like, I know, he must have gone on when I wasn't looking and things like that. And the head teacher, I found out, ended up pulling Matthew aside. And my head teacher, I mean by the head teacher of the entire school, not like a head of year, nothing. He was the head teacher of the entire school. He pulled Matthew aside and said, listen, buddy, don't do that again, okay? Don't do that again. Excuse me? He was so buddy with him. In fact, Matthew told me all of this himself. It's not even a case of I found it out, Matthew stopped talking to me. Matthew was not fucking bothered, guys, because it didn't affect him in any sort of way. In fact, the head teacher basically ruffled his hair and went, you silly little boy, boys will be boys, right? And let him carry on his merry way and said, just don't do it again, Matthew. It's too much paperwork, right? Anyway, at this point, I was so pissed off because what do you mean? I'd actually gone to someone this time, not like the last story I told you guys. I'd actually gone to someone this time, expressed my discomfort. She, my teacher at the time, seemed relatively concerned, had addressed it, and literally nobody faced any disciplinary action at all. It did not matter to these people that this guy had my address, had my names, and also did the same thing to another boy. Right? So cool. I understood. I was like, this is how I'm going to be taken from now on. I'm going to be not taken seriously because, schools want to keep this sort of thing under wraps. They don't want parents getting involved. They don't want higher ups getting involved. They just want it to die, So fine, it died. It was let go until this moment when I'm ranting about it on the podcast or whenever I rant about it to my friends. So that was the first major, this is not right. I've never had a friend do this to me before. This is weird. And you're probably saying to me, Aimee, you must have left it. Aimee, you must have left it. We didn't talk, I think, for a second after that, but he was very much chatty with me. And I honestly was I kind of am scared of this guy's power. So I think I'm just going to keep it cute and keep it cool with him. Because you just don't want to get on the bad side of someone that's got your fucking address and your parents' names. So we were cool again, and he would message me a lot, and he made it very clear after a while that he was into me and he wanted to go out and he wanted me to give him a chance. And I said no. I didn't have feelings for him in that way, and I did express that to him. I don't need to give anyone a reason on why. And this is the problem. He would always ask for a reason on why. I don't need to explain myself to anyone. Sometimes you just don't have feelings for a person, and that's okay, and that's normal. And like anybody out there that feels like they need to give someone a concrete reason on why they don't like them, sometimes it's just a vibe. Sometimes it's just, in general, I don't know. It just wasn't there for me. And I had expressed this several times over our friendship, and I had explained to them how I felt about everything, but I did enjoy being friends. It was fun to have someone to sometimes like they get their opinion on something, especially political, and he could be quite funny, but he could also be quite dangerous with the things that he said, and I disagreed on a lot of the things that he said, and I found myself in this really compromising situation where I didn't know how to nicely explain that I wanted to just be chill with him. Like I don't necessarily need to be like amazing friends with him. I didn't need to necessarily be like enemies, but I had a lot of empathy for him. He confided in me about a lot of things that I won't get into because, again, that's just not my place. I would never do that. And a lot of them made me feel a lot of empathy, sympathy for him, and understand his situation. And I thought for a long time that maybe he was just lonely. And I know that it's not my place to fix people per se, or, be that person for them where they can just rant or whatever. But I genuinely didn't mind. Like, I'm a very understanding person, and I've always wanted to go into therapy, and it's not like I saw this person as like a client, because that would be fucking crazy. But I did see them as a vulnerable person that just needed a shoulder to lean on now and then. And why couldn't I be nice? I'm nice to everybody else, and he's not, other than that incident, offended me just yet. So maybe he's just misunderstood, question mark. I don't know. I was a bit silly, I'm not gonna lie to you, but it got more intense, and the messages he would send me got a bit more intense, and I didn't know how to respond sometimes, because when you're in a situation where someone's very clearly expressing how they feel for you and you don't feel the same way, it's really hard anyway for me to let people down. I really struggle with it because I don't like letting people down. I honestly sometimes would just rather people didn't tell me. I hate letting people down. But at the same time, it's like a lot of guys don't understand the word no. And they don't understand that I've told you I'm not interested in you. Can you stop asking me out? Because it's been a ridiculous amount of times now. I remember sometimes he would kind of start arguments in a way with me. I remember he started one with me on Christmas Eve. He messaged me and was like, you did this, you did that, you did that. And I just was like, what are you talking about? I've never done anything like this in my life. I basically sent him a message and was like, why are you ruining my Christmas? I've been so nice to you, what the hell? And then on New Year's, he sent me this really massive message just being like, I can't do this anymore with you. I love you. I can't do this where we're not together. I just want you to give me a chance. I know that I've been intense or messed things up or whatever, because there were other things going on. He had other issues going on that I personally wasn't looking for in a partner. So he said to me, like, I will fix these things for you. I'll fix anything for you. Like, I want to be with you. And I said, listen, like, you should never fix it for a person. You need to do it for yourself, because if you fix it for a person, it will always fall through. It just will. So he did need to do it for himself. And not only that, but I wasn't interested. Like I said, I was not interested, and I didn't owe anyone that. Even our interactions got more intense. I remember this one really kind of crazy day where I was going to school quite early in the mornings to study because I had A-levels coming up, or AS levels. I can't remember which one it was at the time. And he would come in early just to kind of see me sometimes. I think maybe that's me being friggin' like obsessed with myself, but I'm pretty sure he came in early to see me. And he would come sit in the rooms that I was in and find me. And I would sit in there. I was fine with it. I was studying, but I was okay with having a little chat. And I remember one time I got up to leave, and he came towards me. I was at the back of the classroom. He was at the front. He was at the teacher's desk. And he came towards me, and he like kind of cornered me. I don't know. It was weird. He kind of cornered me, and he kept making jokes and saying things about like, what if I just did this to you, like, and touching me in certain areas. And it was just really, really uncomfortable and really weird. And I just wanted to get out of there. Guys, I really struggle with like dealing with those sort of things. Like, I'm a very confrontational person. I'm happy to have an argument with someone. I'm happy to prove someone wrong. That's fine. But when it's something like that, in the way that person's not being mean to you, they're just being disrespectful. And I was struggling on how to get myself out of that situation, especially safely. As a woman, you know what it's like. I say that like you're all female, but as women, we know what it's like to go through moments like that where you don't know what the safest way to get yourself out of that situation is, because you don't know how the other person is feeling that day. Especially this person, he had turbulent emotions. He, you know, was sometimes on certain things. I didn't know how he was feeling that day. And so I'm trying to edge to leave the room, like, you know, whatever. He's kind of coming with me, but he didn't put his hands on me. He did not. But I was really struggling to leave, and I eventually managed to get out. And I just remember being like, whew, that was intense, you know, like I really didn't know what was going to happen there. I'm glad nothing did, obviously, but nobody should even feel scared of it happening. It's just not right to make someone feel that way. He started calling me at this point, usually when it was late, and he would tell me about destructive behaviors he was doing, whether it was seeing certain people doing certain things that are not healthy. And I think he was really searching for that empathy and that care in someone. And I cared, but it was hard for me. I sometimes wouldn't answer. I would try my best to kind of block it out. And a lot of people might be thinking right now, why didn't you just block him? Why didn't you just block him? He was sometimes kind of concerning in the way that he would talk about himself. And in the mental state that he was in, I didn't want to be blamed for anything happening to him. Not that anyone should be or should be worried about that, but I was very worried for him, and I did feel concerned for him. And even though he had done things that I felt were out of line, I didn't mean I didn't see the human side of him. And he could be funny, and he could be nice, and he could be a good person. And I don't think he's a bad person. Even now, I sit here and I know I'm telling you the bad parts of everything and what went on, but I also want to say I don't think he's a bad person. I think he doesn't realize sometimes the way he's treating people. And if he does, maybe I'm being ridiculous, and maybe he understands completely, and maybe it was just all a thing of like playing dumb act. I don't know, but something in me just doesn't, I can't hate him. I can't hate him for anything that he did, because I don't think that he's a hateable person. I think he's just got a lot going on, and I know a lot of us do, but I don't know. I'm making excuses for him, I know that, but it's hard not to when you tolerated something for so long, to try and rationalize maybe why you did. One time I remember he came to my work and he dropped off a letter whilst I was on shift, and it was a love letter. I'm pretty sure I had told him where I worked, but I never invited him to come over. And we had never hung out outside of school, bear in mind. But he just randomly one day walked into my work, waltzed in, handed me this letter and left. And it was a love letter. And then I remember he would ask me as well, like, oh, should we go on a run together? Because I was really into running. Should we go on a run? Should we go on a run? So he was kind of pushing to see each other in real life. But I wasn't for it. I don't know. Again, like I just had a gut feeling. He would also make very sexual comments towards me, whether it was about my body and the way that it looked, whether it's about how he thought it would feel, or whether it was what he wanted to do together and things like that. It was uncomfortable, to like put it lightly, and it would happen a lot. And I would say to him like, okay, that's enough, I'm kind of over this conversation, or I would ignore it, or I'd be like, you know, like you just are like that. I think you just are like that with a lot of people, because he would say these really sexual comments towards me and then tell me about some person that he had been with, and it's just like recently, by the way, and it's just like I just couldn't understand. Was he like this with everyone? Was I being targeted? I didn't know. I didn't really have like a support group. You know what I mean? Like, oh, let's survive Matthew support group. It just wasn't like that. I know there had been inappropriate behavior on school grounds that people had reported. Again, I wasn't there for it, so I don't know, but they had said something happened. He was just troubled, you know? He was troubled. There was a stage, and I can't really tell you when the flip happened, but there was a stage where the comments turned from, you know, you're so beautiful, you're so pretty, you're so this, oh, I really like you, two crazy comments, and I can't get you out of my head, and the fact that you won't date me kills me, like, why don't you just want to give me one single chance, you know? And having to constantly just let someone down. Eventually we did stop speaking for quite a while, because he basically said he couldn't speak to me whilst I was saying I wouldn't go out with him, and it was kind of just a relief. It was weird. I kind of had like PTSD. I was kind of like, oh my god, like, I hope he's not mad at me and anything happens. But it was quite relieving those few months where we were just not speaking. And then he became friends with this girl that joined our year group. I was friends with her, and so then he kind of got reintroduced to me again. He would now make inappropriate comments alongside saying he was no longer in love with me. So he would want to do things to me, but he didn't like me like that anymore. It was just kind of like the way he was, you know. And then he would constantly try and prove himself by talking about other girls, by saying this, by saying that. It was strange. It was really strange. He would say inappropriate things to me, like, if I was dying, would you sleep with me if it was my last wish? And I'd be like, no. And he'd be like, what the hell, you know? He'd actually be like upset about it, and it was like, girl, what do you mean, like, we're meant to be friends, why are you asking me this? He's blocked now, to be honest with you, because I mean, why was it coming back whilst I was at university? It was crazy. I thought we had just ended it low-key amicably, and like we weren't gonna text again. And then we were going to be at the same event, so I let him know that I was bringing my boyfriend, and my boyfriend also went to the school. So I wanted to let him know, because I wanted him to be able to veto out of the event if he got too freaked out by that. Everyone's fancied someone and then seen them with someone else and gone, oh, I hate, you know? Even if you don't still fancy them, it's just the fact that, like, especially that they're with someone that you know, and like, oh, that could have been me because we came from the same place. So I didn't want to make him feel really bad. And I know that wasn't needed from me, and I know all of that, but I was just honest with him, and I said, listen, I'm bringing my partner. I just want to be okay with you. I don't want you to see and freak out. And I was honest to him about who it was. And then a few months later, I found out, maybe a bit more than a few months, but I found out that he was chatting mad shit. I'm assuming about my boyfriend, because one of his friends knew my boyfriend's entire name. I'm quite picky, I think, when it comes to relationships. When you meet my boyfriend, he's very funny. He's very kind. He's very generous, smart, like everything. So why would I not be with someone like that, you know? So to start this judgment on him is crazy, but I didn't know about it for a while. Anyway, he started kind of calling me here and there. I genuinely was worried about this guy's safety, guys. Like, I don't think he had enough support around him, to be quite honest with you, even though he did get a lot from the school. And I remember one time he called me and he was like, you know, I still think about like doing things to you once a week. And this was when I was in a relationship. He knew about my relationship, and it was like not that long ago. You can't say that. And then he was like apologizing. But it's like too late. You're now really disrespecting me and my relationship, acting like I don't like just want my boyfriend almost. You know, it was really weird. He called me one time, and it was a Monday. It was a Monday night, and I was in my dorm room, and he called me, and my boyfriend was in the room, and I said, you know, are you okay with me answering the call? Like, I was very transparent with him about what was going on, and if he was uncomfortable with it, as much as I was, that he could tell me. And he didn't think I should keep speaking to this person. Not that I was actively reaching out, but he was messaging me or calling me. He said, I don't think you should be speaking to them, but I know what you're like, and you are going to feel guilty if you stop. So, you know, do what you need to do. I will support you. And so I answered the phone, and he said to me, you know, where are you? And I was like, I'm at home. And he was like, what are you doing home on a Saturday night? Does your boyfriend not take you out for dates? Does he not take you out? And my boyfriend got so pissed off. He literally like intervened on the phone call and was like, what the fuck are you saying? And it was just like, what are you doing? And we had a civilized chat, but after that it was just like, I don't know. I didn't know how I felt about anything. And we would bear in mind, guys, like, I need you to know that we weren't consistent texters ever. He would text me, or he would call me once like every 4 months. It was crazy. And then the last time that he did, kind of, basically I found out about him chatting shit about my boyfriend, and so then I texted him and I was like, what the hell, like, I've been so nice to you and this is how you repay me? And then he basically said back to me, my friend should have never told you. my friend should have never told you that, and they're in the wrong, really, because I said that in confidence. Which, Diva 8, like, I don't know, I kind of, like, get it. I would be pissed too, but it's like the zero accountability told me everything I need to know. What do you mean that I suffered levels of trauma with this man where he intimidated me, or he said things I was uncomfortable with, or he traumatized on me, or he showed up at places that I never invited him to, or had my address, and he wanted to tell me, look me in my eyes through the phone? I don't know, it wasn't a FaceTime, it was just messages, but like, say to me through the phone, yeah, I tried shit about your boyfriend, but you should have just never been told. You should have never been told. Like, really, really, like, made me crash out, because I felt like I had wasted decades of my life. Bear in mind, this was maybe went over like 2-year period, but it genuinely felt like decades upon decades of my life. Like, I have aged since having this friendship with this person, and yet they wanted to say to me that it was my problem that I found out, essentially. It's one thing to do it to me, but it's another thing to do it to my boyfriend. It's another thing to do it to someone who has never caused you any harm, who's been nothing but nice to you, and if anything, has tolerated a load of your bullshit. So I was like, you know what? That's it. If you want to talk about boyfriends, you want to talk about boyfriends. Block. I was like, that's done. So I blocked him. We have not spoken since. That was probably like 2 or 3 months ago. But this is what I'm saying, guys. It did not happen a long time ago. And I wanted to rehash that this started in 6th form. So it's been going on. I wasn't even getting paid, but I felt like someone's therapist, and I felt like I really couldn't abandon my patient. Not in that moment. He needed me. I felt so bad. This is the thing. I think sometimes I get this thing where I think that I can be the one to help someone. I can do it. I know I can. And it's just like, sit the fuck down. If loads of professionals and people like that couldn't help this person yet, because sometimes it takes time, it's a journey, but what makes you think that your little self could handle all of that information? And honestly, I couldn't handle it, and it was a lot to deal with. I want to end this segment / the video by saying that I don't wish either of those people ill will or anything like that, especially the second person that I was talking about, because I don't know if he's going to end up watching this, and if he does, I want him to be okay, and I don't want like to fight with this person. You know, it was a difficult time for 2 people, and it was confusing, and I talked about it on this platform because, to be honest with you, not too many people watch it, and the people that do watch it aren't always people that know me, or they're from like university and things like that, so that they're not gonna know this person. I'm not doing it to out them. I'm just doing it because sometimes you need to get things off your chest, and that's how I feel in this moment. I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it was intense. I really do know that, because I've told this story to people, and people, they go from this. This is literally, I'll be telling the story and they're like, and then just slowly it's like, oh my god, what the fuck has happened to this girl? And she's just laughing about it. It's like, are you okay? I am okay, guys. I'm actually so fine. I feel very safe. I feel very secure. I would not be making this video if I didn't feel that way. I am fine, and I just want to talk about it. And if anything that I said in this video has made you feel triggered, or it's made you realize a situation that you're in that you think maybe you might need a little bit of help, I'm going to link some helplines. I'm going to also just tell you to call the police if it's actual stalking, okay? And talk to someone trusted, and generally a trusted adult. Or just like your friends, and they will tell you the right thing to do 9 times out of 10. But I will be putting some helplines down in the description if you do need help from any stalking, any harassment, anything that you guys might be suffering from. If this video has maybe sparked something in your brain that told you, hey, I feel uncomfortable about a current situation that I'm in. Anyway, thank you so much for watching the video. Thank you for coming back to another podcast, even though it's a month late. I'm really sorry about that. And I promise, I will stick a boot up my booty and try and get better with just filming episodes, editing, and doing the damn thing, you know, because uni season's rolling around, so hopefully the structure will add a bit more consistency in these videos. But thank you for watching, guys. I will see you on the next one. Bye!